Lady K.
Welcome and thank you for tuning in to Lady K Chat, a podcast that has been designed for divorced women to become a better version of themselves. Various subjects will be speaked upon, such as relationship, personal development, health and wellness, wealth building, children, and so much more. The shows will be aired every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time by the lovely host, who is an international speaker, two-time Amazon bestseller author, and a divorce life coach, Kalima, aka Lady K. And now for your host, Lady K. Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in this episode, When Men Open Up. And this episode is just that, ladies and gentlemen. It takes a lot for a man to open up in his word because society puts so much pressure on him. But I have the pleasure today to speak to two gentlemen who's actually taken the work and the due diligence to open up to men, to talk to them, to correct them, and to show them how to be a man in this world. So with the pleasure due, I have introducing Mr. Dominique and Dexter. How are you guys doing today?
We're doing well.
Doing excellent. Thank you once again for having us.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys. Tell me, how did you come up with the concept of When Men Open Up? What led you to that point?
Oh, well, definitely. So, Dominique and I, we've been friends and business associates for some time now. And, one day we were just having a conversation. We made the observation that, the type of things we were talking about, we weren't really accustomed to hearing it from other men in our circles. I don't know what it was particularly about this given day, but I think we were talking about the challenges as it relates to just being men and wanting to be good examples with our spouses, and how do we better serve our community, and we were just talking about the challenges with being those type of men, and so we just kind of stuck a fork in it. And I think around that time we started to see trends with men committing suicide, and it just seemed to be like an overflow of men just talking about depression, and that really served as a cue that we need to be more vocal with talking about these issues that men are experiencing, because ultimately, as men, we struggle with these issues, and because we struggle with these issues, they were leading to those things like suicide. So we just decided that in being transparent in our conversation, that we would be the catalyst, hopefully, for other men to have these conversations amongst their own circles, right. and maybe, to give some kind of inclination to women who care about the men in their lives, maybe to encourage them as well to begin to having these difficult dialogue.
And I think that's amazing, because as we know in society today, there's so much, help for women, but it's like, what about the men? Because again, yeah, carries so much, and especially too as a black man, you understand what I'm saying? Because a lot of times, in the black community, they don't want to discuss certain things, like you said, because maybe they never had that father figure, or maybe, they got around the wrong people, or whatever the circumstances may be. I just think it's this phenomenon that you two are taking your time and your due diligence to educate these brothers.
Most definitely. And look, a lot of these conversations that we have, they're very tough. We as men, we tend to avoid these conversations, discussing the emotional and spiritual and mental issues that we deal with. And, let's be honest, I've heard several times growing up, man up,
right.
Get over it. You'll be all right. It's nothing to talk about. And when you're raised like that, you're learning to not to express your emotions, but you're learning to suppress them. And when you suppress those emotions, when you suppress those issues and feelings, that's really teaching you to develop unhealthy ways of how to manage and even cope with certain emotional and mental issues.
Nice. That's phenomenal. Now, do you guys talk about try to help men, to be better fathers or how to be a better man in relationships?
Yes, everything is funny because when you are able to, let's say, for example, we're talking about stress.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not able to manage your stress in a healthy way, in an effective way, that's going to affect you as a father. That's going to specific relationship topics. So, like, for example, we talked about gender roles. I think sometimes we have such a one-dimensional way of looking at masculinity. A lot of guys, we don't want to do certain things because we don't feel like it's masculine to do them, or we feel like it's soft or weak to do them. But to just have a broader view of masculinity in terms of certain tasks to do and so forth. But when you are able to, understand how to express your emotions, that really help women understand what they have to do to better support us in certain
Right.
capacities.
Right. I think that is so true. And it's a give and a take. It's the same thing too. As you said, sometimes we need to know how, for them to talk to us, because I'm sure as you hear, like especially in social media, you see there's a lot of single ladies out there, right? And they always run across certain type of men, and they say, well, he doesn't know how to talk, he doesn't know how to communicate with me, and I seem to see a lot of conversation that I'm having with women. This seemed to be the problem. So it's like sometimes women are more acceptable to make changes, and then when we do, the man doesn't jump on board. So it's like, we're trying to get you along, but it's like she's pouring her heart out to you, but you're not hearing her. So it's like, are you
Yeah,
still going to be stuck in that area?
And I think sometimes that's fair to say, but at the end of the day, unfortunately, we just wasn't taught how to talk about the emotions, talk about feelings. We have an understanding that, when it come down to anger, that's okay to express, but anything else is just unacceptable, or is unmasculine to even, express or even talk about. But unfortunately, it is some women have to be a little more patient with us because of talk like that. We wasn't raised to speak like that. So a lot of us don't know how to express those emotions. And we do develop some courses, and we do have some videos where we do teach guys how to express certain emotions and how to go about verbalizing those emotions as well.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
and I would also add to that, much to what Dominique was just saying. Let's be honest, we as men, and I don't try to speak. I don't try to speak for every man, but I will say that, ultimately, we don't always have the language of emotions. We're not equipped with that, and so women. It's been my experience that you all have the live to adulthood where you have that capacity to speak what you're going through emotionally, what you need. That's a foreign concept to many men. And so, you're looking at the span of time, let's say a woman is in her 20s, being able to express herself emotionally, while that man, he was stunted in that area, say when he was 5, late on that level. And
Right.
so, so for the ladies who say, well, hey, I'm trying to speed this man along, let's just be mindful that once again, his development in that emotional space may be 15, 20 years less. Once again, we as men, we don't always have the language to articulate our emotional condition. And
Right.
so as it relates to that man being in that relationship with that woman, she's had a lifetime opportunity to develop in that emotional space. That
Right.
man, he may have been stunted as a child, so she's 20 years more advanced in this area of communication than he is. And so
Right.
much to what Dominique was saying earlier, the hope is that that woman would have patience with that man as he's learning essentially a foreign language.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. And you know what? And by you guys saying that, it popped into my head how, like you said, some men go through certain things in their childhood and, they don't know how to get out of it. Are you guys proactive and you try to reach the youth and try to groom them early if you can? Do you guys offer that in your program?
Yes, we do, and we do provide speaking services. We also, facilitate webinars and workshops as well. We actually just got done facilitating a huge seminar at Fort Valley, and we actually had the opportunity to speak to all the incoming freshmen, and it was called My Brother's Keeper, and the main message was really teaching the guys that it's okay to have these conversations,
Right.
and this is something that we normally just don't talk about. It's okay to talk about sports. It's okay to talk about the girl that we're talking to, and some college students. There are going to be some mental issues, some mental challenges, some emotional challenges as well. And we have to understand and know that it's very, very important, especially in these times, to be emotionally present in our brothers' lives in different ways.
Right. And I think that's phenomenal because as you was talking and you talking about how, you have the outlets to get to the kids. I was thinking about in a event that I'm doing in this next month, and I'm actually going into the high school, and I'm going to be talking about a lot of different topics to the kids, like, as far as, sex, drugs, bullying, mental health and so forth. And I said, I think it's so imperative for us, doing the work that we're doing, that we keep doing it, because if we're going to reach to those kids, we don't just need to go in there and just talk, and then after it's over, they don't know what to do next, So I just kind of feel like we have to continue to do our due diligence so we can have the children that, have that. I want to say, they say take a village to raise the children. We'll be that extra village that's there just in case they can't speak to their parents or just in case they can't speak to their counselors. But the main thing about us, we have to make sure that we don't drop the ball. Would you agree?
Oh, definitely. One of our core beliefs is that we have a responsibility to give back to our community, and so in that giving back, we recognize that we're sowing seeds. I
Right.
think oftentimes we want to expedite our young men to get to to make them a finished product, but they have a right to their process as well. And so if we're intentional about setting the right message, we believe that we can start to see that change for the next generation.
Absolutely. Is there anything else you guys want to tell my listeners about what you guys do?
Oh, definitely. So as Dominique had mentioned earlier, in addition to being speakers, we also have a university called Women Open Up University. This is a set of online courses designed to address those difficult issues that men often have a hard time excelling in.
Mm,
You'll be surprised how many men we struggle in the area of self-care.
right.
That that was like a foreign concept to me at one point in time. Because I was always taught to go out there and get it. But what I ended up discovering is in the going out there and getting it, if you don't allot any time for yourself, you're going to burn yourself out. And
Absolutely.
so, a lot of men are experiencing burnout. So we have courses in that area, uh, courses concerning goal setting, and a other courses dealing with emotional intelligence.
Right.
In addition to that, we do have a podcast called When Men Open Up. It airs every Tuesday on Facebook, as well as all of the other online podcast platforms. So, we're just trying to do our part to make an impact, one message at a time.
Great. I love that. I love that you said you're trying to teach the men about self-care, self-love, because again, that support is there for the women. I talk about that on my podcast a lot, but for the men, I think that's imperative. And I think, to me personally, I think it's sexy when a man go get a pedicure. I see nothing wrong with it. That is a turn on. It's like, oh, you're taking care of yourself. Oh, you don't have dirt in your nails. Thank you.
Hey, I tell Dex, one of my routines every month is I get a massage. It's something that really just help relieve the stress and help me stay energized throughout the year. So that's one of the big things that I do each month.
Good. And I'm happy that, you said the key word you do for yourself every month, because some people, they say, oh, I'm going to do that next year. And it's like, why do you have to wait a whole year to pamper yourself? And people don't realize this can just be little stuff that you just do on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. You understand?
Oh, definitely.
Most definitely.
I'm a fisher, so, that's how I get my self-care in, just to get away from all the distractions and get out there on the lake and lose myself, in those few hours.
I think that's a good thing. Well, I thank you guys for taking the time and the opportunity to come up here and talk to the viewers about, when men open up. And if somebody wanted to get your services, how can they reach you?
They can easily go to our website, whenmenopenup.com, and reach us there, or they can email us info@whenmenopenup.com. They can easily look for our social media pages, When Men Open Up, and we can just go from there.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Dexter and Dominic. It was a pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, continue to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Lady K Chat, and on my website at www.ladykcoaching.com. Everyone have a great night. Lady K.